dear compatriots, ladies and gentlemen of the press, I welcome you on behalf of the Board of Conveners of the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, NINAS. We invited you here today to share with you the progress being made with the implementation of the constitutional force majeure declared December 16, 2020, and the next steps in the implementation process as a part of our stock taking at the third anniversary of the constitutional force majeure. We wish, therefore, to state as follows. You will recall that on the 16th day of December in 2020, NINAS activated a joint multi-regional constitutional force majeure by which it declared a union dispute, issuing a 90-day notice of grave constitutional dispute to the government of the Federation of Nigeria and presenting a 5-point proposition by which those grievances could be addressed, including the suspension of further national elections under the 1999 Constitution and the initiation of an immediate transitional arrangement to undertake the long overdue constitutional reconstruction of unitary Nigeria. You will recall that at the expiration of the 90-day period of notice, NINAS, by a press conference addressed in Ibadan, March 17, 2021, announced a 30-day period of consultations being extended to the governments and elected officials from the states of the Federation of Nigeria since the 90-day notice of December 16, 2020 was directed at the federal government of Nigeria, representing the Federation of Nigeria. 3, upon the expiration of the 30-day period, NINAS, by another World Press Conference in Lagos, declared a 120-day period of consultations with the peoples and ethnic nationalities of Nigeria, sundry interests and stakeholder community in the international circuit, including the United Nations Security Council and the United Nations Trusteeship Council, as well as the governments of the United States, the European Union, China, Russia, and a few others. They were formally communicated. 4, upon the completion of these consultations, which ran concurrently with enlightenment of the populace and stakeholders, NINAS intensified engagement with number 5. February 2023 came and voting took place. Everything that could go wrong went wrong with results. INEC and the judiciary completed the circuit, and Nigeria went into a free fall as feared by NINAS, but as guaranteed by the Unitary Constitution of Nigeria, which was directly responsible for everything that went wrong with the elections. The rest, as they say, is history. Almost instantly, from fuel price hikes to free fall of Naira to astronomical rise in cost of living, particularly foodstuffs, lamentations and disillusionment led to a more noticeable exodus of young people to foreign lands, fleeing from the country that feeds on their blood. NINA's verdict on the entire electoral charade, especially the defiance of the already disputed Constitution of Nigeria by both INEC and the judiciary in order to produce the preconceived outcomes from the election, was that Nigeria had landed itself in an interregnum in which there is a government in power, but which lacked legitimacy. Number 6, the worst outcome of the 2023 elections is that it has now crystallized as a state capture in which all arms of government and the institutions of state have openly capitulated to the rampage and onslaught of the agents of the present state capture, complete with a massive looting of whatever is left of Nigeria, even as foreign loans are recklessly contracted for consumption purposes. Young people began to shout, "Revolution, revolution," all over the place, looking longingly at the recent people's revolt across the West African sub-region. Number 7, apparently frightened by the rapid descent of Nigeria towards anarchy, more voices began to emerge from high places in support of the immediate constitutional renegotiation, reconfiguration, and reconstruction. They called it all kinds of names, and those who are now speaking up include former President Olusegun Obasanjo, former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Chief Emeka Anyoko, with the likes of Professor Patu Tomi and Kingsley Moghalu, who all plunged into elections across the last 3 electoral cycles, particularly the one of 2023. Everyone now agrees that the unworkable unitary constitution of Nigeria is the source of practically all the problems of Nigeria, including insecurity, corruption, infrastructural decay, mass poverty, and general hopelessness pervading the land. The question on every lip now is, how exactly do we get rid of the 1999 Constitution? How do we extricate ourselves from the bondage we have found ourselves in? Where does Nigeria go from here? Without any hesitation, Ninas will ask all those who are asking these questions, in quote, is there anyone or group in Nigeria, including the government and the political parties, that has a better proposition for addressing the anomalous constitutional arrangements of Nigeria than Ninas, which since December 2020 placed on the table a comprehensive and practical plan for the immediate undertaking of the constitutional reconstruction of Nigeria, following a 20-year painstaking process that began right from the 1999 imposition of the unitary constitution that has brought Nigeria to its knees. End of quote. I repeat that. Ninas is asking all of those who are saying, how do we terminate the 1999 constitution? How do we bring out ourselves? I quote, Ninas is asking, is there any one or group in Nigeria, including the government of Nigeria and the political parties, that has a better proposition for addressing the anomalous constitutional arrangement of Nigeria than Ninas, which since December 2020 placed on the table a comprehensive practical plan for the immediate undertaking of the constitutional reconstruction of Nigeria, following a 20-year painstaking process that began right from the 1999 imposition of the unitary constitution that has brought Nigeria to its knees. Without being immodest, we have no doubt that the answer to that question is a resounding no. Ninas is saying that we can say for certain that there is no group, not the government, not the political parties, not any one of the groups that are going about, talking to the atmosphere, restructuring. None has a plan that can be examined, like the constitutional force majeure proclamation that was not only written, it was advertised, formally, unedited, and sent around the world for what we are proposing for the Nigeria that is about to collapse on everybody. And so we say again that there's no alternatives that have been placed on the table for us to interrogate and compare with what NINAS has put on the table. It is on the basis of this reality, therefore, that NINAS will request all stakeholders, including the government of Nigeria, political parties, statesmen, and other stakeholders, to find the courage to embrace these propositions of NINAS as the last available peaceful and orderly mechanism for taking Nigeria to immediate union reconstruction, which offers the existing governance structures and accommodation by way of a transitioning, as the alternative will most likely be disorderly and most likely violent on an unprecedented scale. Number 8, NINAS observes with concern that the government of the day seems determined to sidetrack the NINAS route to redemption by groping about in the dark in search of other solutions that will retain this stranglehold on the sovereignty of the constituent components of Nigeria, restored by the NINAS two-stage proposition contained in the NINAS 5-point proposition. The government and the agents of the system have gone from one form of amorphous restructuring suggestion to lame recourse to the report of the 2014 Political Reform Conference, to suggestions about a return to the 1963 constitutional arrangements, to the latest dubious suggestion by Olisa Abakova at the December 14, 2023 Abuja colloquium, whereby the National Assembly of Nigeria withdraw some imaginary powers from Section 14, Section 4, Section 4.1 of the fraudulent 1999 Constitution to replace the Constitution wholesale without any recourse to the sovereign constituent components of Nigeria. This is an invitation to a bigger fraud than the one of 1999 initiated by Absalom Abaka, and it is treasonous. It is treasonous. The common strand with all these options, that is whether they were talking restructuring that they can't define, or they are talking, the return to 2014 conference report, or they are talking about return to 1963. The common strand with all those options is that constitutional amendment is the mechanism they target, and the National Assembly will be the venue for undertaking the constitutional reconstruction. This is what NINAS rejects, as it holds down the sovereignty of the people of Nigeria, detained since the colonial era to date. This is the jinx NINAS proposition has broken. Number 9, NINAS is pleased to inform the public that the 1999 Constitution has been delegitimized. Where do we go from there? Next step is the commencement of the decommissioning. It has already been activated informally, but we are now bringing it to the notice of the public that no matter what anybody thinks, no matter what anybody says, whether they're in government or they're in political party, wherever they are, the basis of the Union of Nigeria being that Constitution of 1999 that is a fraud is now delegitimized. That's why you hear it all over the place, people saying it must change. Those things didn't fall from the sky. They came from the hard work, the detailed and painstaking work that NINAS had managed to do across the length and breadth of Nigeria and across the decision-making places of the world. And so we now step formally at this third anniversary of the 2020 constitutional force majeure activation. We step formally into the decommissioning process. What does this mean? NINAS will, in this phase, be inviting all of those who now agree that the Constitution of Nigeria 1999, that has been responsible for Nigeria's woes and the misery of Nigerians, must now give way for something else that will have to be negotiated on account of the sovereignties that are conscripted into Nigeria and on account of their inalienable right to self-determination. That is what will be happening in this phase. And so we are pleased to announce further that in the first quarter of 2024, NINAS will be making what the church people will call an altar call to separate those who agree that the Union of Nigeria can no longer continue on a constitution of master servant, a constitution of death, a constitution of unitarism and centralized control, from those who cling onto that constitution and swear to defend and uphold it and vote at elections in it and just generally refuse to have any discussion. Those who say it is indissoluble for the union, those who say it is non-negotiable, that constitution. And so it is in the first quarter of 2024 that a formal mechanism will be rolled out to separate, because we know that we are now a majority from the highest of places, if you listen well, to the medium places, again, if you listen, but more from the grassroots. Everybody is fed up with everything, and they now want a departure from that Nigeria that is feeding on their blood. And so that altar call will be to separate those who want to hold hands with the enemy to keep us down in bondage and those who want liberation. If we do what we ought to do, which begins even now, let those who did not know that the prison gate has been compromised, that is what that delegitimization means. Let the information of NINAS that we can find all over the place at the touch of the button on our phones. The website that is www.ninasvoice.org. The YouTube channel that is Nina's Voice, where we have more than 320 recorded broadcasts that deal with these issues, that the people need to know whatever it is they want from Nigeria, whether they want outright exit from the union, that's the one they call independence, or they want autonomy for their region, or they want some balanced federation or confederation. It is that constitution that stands their way. And therefore, in this first quarter, all of those who want something different from what they've lived with across the last 50 to 55 years, since unitary arrangements got imposed, they will be having a facility to step forward. In the meantime, what NINAS requests everybody to do as their contribution to this redemption that is very much within our grip, within our reach, is to join in the mass dissemination of the information on this subject. Many people do not know, even the ones with education, how much more the ones with less education in the rural areas. It is in the fast dissemination of this information that we can very quickly reach the critical mass that will then be able to enforce the joint jailbreak. NINAS will assure everybody that in all of what has to be done to complete what is left, to free ourselves from this bondage, nobody can make out an offense from anything being done. Once it's being done within the guidelines we shall issue. And therefore, knowledge becomes central for people to understand that what is being done has to be done in a certain way. For those who will be asking, oh, we don't have any guns. Again, NINAS is able to tell them that it is the Constitution 1999, the Unitary Constitution of Nigeria, that took away the right from them to defend themselves, the ones being slaughtered recklessly in the Middle Belt. For those who want their resources back, it is that Constitution that took their assets. For the young people that want their country back, they say we will take our country back. It is the 1999 Constitution, the fraud of 1999, that took your country from you, that took your sovereignty from you. And so we will just say that we have defeated that monster. We have compromised the prison gate where we have been kept all this while, and we are well able, if sufficient numbers of us are awakened to the consciousness of the need to make our way to that gate and leave that prison. For those in government, this might be the last call for embracing this option that accommodates existing governance structure. The transition, like we saw in South Africa, retains the governance structures. We have no quarrel with those in government house, even those who rigged the election. That's not our concern. Our concern is the constitution by which anybody will have governed, including if the right people were declared winners. If they govern with that constitution, our situation will not change. And so we invite you to put aside whatever you are thinking. We have no quarrel with you, to dismount from your high horse of thinking that the sovereignty of the people now resides with people in government, which is the heresy that Olisa Bakoba had gone to preach in Abuja in the presence of the Bola Tinubu, who is president from the last election, and the presence of Godswill Akpabio, who happened to be the celebrant, but more importantly, the president of the Senate. The two men spoke in some kind of endorsement of that nefarious suggestion by Olisa Bakoba. We pray they don't go even one step near that route, because it will be treated as a criminal venture between them to complete the state capture that has started already, because then they will be able to replace the constitution wholesale without reference to anybody other than the few that might be in the room. That's the import of what Olisa Bakoba had suggested to them, and they rejoiced as if they found some Appian way to escape from the need to get the owners of the sovereignties of Nigeria around a table in a process that can lock out confusion and disorder. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your actions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tony Nadi. This statement will be available to the public and to press, so that those that missed any part of it will have the complete statement and be able to follow it.